So, welcome everybody. I am so excited to be here and to introduce this community. For those of you who may not already have the privilege of knowing my guest for today, Maria Felipe. Reverend Maria Felipe is an international speaker, an Amazon #1 best-selling author of a book that always sits close by me, which is Live Your Happy. It is a manual for love and happiness. You are a goddess of and the embodiment of happiness and authenticity. One of my favorite teachers. I remember the first time I saw you speak in New York, and I left there like, what just happened? and every time since then, Maria, honestly, you just, I laugh, I cry, I cheer, you move me in such a way, and I've looked at the audience and you move all of us in such an authentic, down-to-earth, real way. You are just my kind of teacher. You are my kind of woman. And the charisma and it's like just being in your presence almost gives me permission and excitement to truly be myself. You just exude that. So I'm so excited to introduce you and to bring you to this community and to just chat with you for a little while. Your book, Live Your Happy, has just been translated to a 9-week online course so everybody can access it. And I love how you just told me that even while you were editing, you started crying because you kind of moved yourself, and the people that were in the course moved you, and you were so excited that everybody in the world was going to have access to this information. So I'm just so proud to be here with you. My community, I love to work with, we're both ministers of A Course in Miracles. I love to really work with people, mostly women, who, through food and body image, to learn the obstacles of love's presence. We can actually use anything to become more loving, to learn more of who we are not, which is really what we're here to do. Love isn't something we need to learn or practice. It's just something we need to unearth. And for so many women, there's so much of our self-worth or identity tied up in the way we look. And actually stepping out of that, knowing our worth and knowing how lovable and loved we are, can't help but bring you back to a state of balance and health. And I knew that you had so much to bring to this community and so much to talk about. So enough with me. I just, hello, welcome. So happy to have you here. I could gush for another hour.
I think that has been one of the most heartfelt introductions I've ever had, and I usually don't start crying at the very beginning, but I'm already in tears, and I'm thinking, why didn't I bring my tissue box? I'm like, I have to start wiping my nose with my shirt, which is fine. I always say authenticity is sexy. So Linda, what can I say? But yeah, so much is coming through, and one of those things is just my appreciation for you and what you're doing in this world, and with your community. And I know that this subject about body and food and all these things is something that has really, we've had so many blocks with this subject, and for someone to address it head on in such a beautiful and unique way is really commendable. And every time I see you on Facebook posting something, or your emails or whatever it is, I get really excited. And as I was saying earlier, you're like an innocent little girl, and you're like filled with wonder, and you're just going for it, and with no expectations. I feel that it's just, let me just shine, which is the whole, your whole, the branding, right? Is shine. Yeah. She shines. Is it?
Yeah. And then she shines.
She shines. And it's totally you, because you're such a bright light. And it's funny you mentioned New York, because that was the very first conference I had ever done. And it was so long ago. I was very new. I was just, I was just starting at that point. And it's so beautiful that you remember that talk. And I remember it being just very heartfelt. And I've always been in this field that I'm in, because I was an actor and a TV host for such a long time, that when I was called to be a teacher of God, I said, this is going to be fun and I'm not going to make it matter, because I made my career as an actor matter so much and I suffered so much. So I feel like what you got in the conference and what people continue to receive from me, it comes from that space. It comes from that space of non-attachment. It comes from that space of just being myself without an agenda, and not really caring. And when I mean caring, it means I don't care what my ego thinks. I don't care to look good. I don't care to speak perfect English. I could hardly care. So I just show up, and it feels good to just be there, versus when I was an actor and a TV host, I made it matter so much, and I wasn't happy. I wasn't experiencing freedom. So I love that you said that about New York. And ever since then, with that non-attachment, even with the book, even with being an author, I remember when D. Patrick Miller, which helped me to publish the book, he's my agent. He's also the one that published Gary's book, The Disappearance of the Universe, Gary Renard's book. I remember, I'm never going to forget it, when we submitted the book proposal to Hay House, and he called me and told me that they weren't interested. And I remember being so excited about it and so happy about it. And he told me, he said, you're the first writer that is happy to be, told no. You're my first rejected happy writer. Rejected. And I was like, well, for me, I didn't have any expectations. And in all honesty, I want the book to be where the excitement is. Why am I going to fight the current of wanting it to be somewhere where it's not flowing? So I know the whole topic today is self-love. And one of the ways that we are self-loving is by being a lover of what is. When we start to begin to be a lover of that circumstance, of what we're given, then that's such a beautiful, loving self-act, because then we're taking responsibility, and then we're not being a victim. And then we get really hot. Like, we just start to shine like goddesses, because nothing outside can touch us. Nothing outside defines us. I always say that, Linda. I always say, my book doesn't define me. Being an author doesn't define me. Being a speaker doesn't define me. What defines me is God. And what defines me is love. What defines me is something that has nothing to do with the tangible. And then we start to experience love. I mean, a true love. And when I wrote the book, one of the chapters actually is, you are the love of your life.
That's my first note on here. Yeah.
That's funny. I love it.
No, go on, but I also want you to incorporate. I loved when you said that, when you were an actor, you cared about everything. It was, I'm assuming, and you can clear it up, it was very self-conscious, very competitive, worried about what everybody thought, worried about being perfect, the way you looked, and then the freedom and that you said, and the life and the love that poured out from you. And you're so lucky you got to have that, see the contrast. I mean, that was probably a huge gift to you before you could actually become an authentic teacher of God, teacher of love. So I'd love to hear a little bit more as you go on about what you let go of in order to bring us this level of life and love and beauty that you exude.
Yeah, that's a good question. And one of the words that's coming up for me is that attachment. I feel that when I was an actor, I was very attached, and I know this is very cliche, but I consistently looked for my happiness outside of me. So if I didn't get that commercial, I wasn't happy. And imagine when I was a young girl doing that career, when I didn't really have the tools as I did as I started to get older and studying the Course in Miracles and other philosophies. I was really heartbreaking, especially in my teens, being a model, being rejected, going to auditions that there were like 100 girls. I'm never going to forget standing in, those Art Deco hotels in Miami with my high heels and my little shorts and my little portfolio, and like so innocent and so wounded, because I was looking at these women and I wasn't skinny enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I for a long time I didn't smile. A long time I didn't smile. I actually would always close my mouth and always give a little bit of a smile, but I felt that it wasn't pretty when I smiled. I remember, it's amazing how everything's perception, because now I look back and I'm like, dude, I was hot and I had a hot smile. What the hell because it's just my perception. It has nothing to do with the look. It has to do what you're thinking about yourself. That's the crazy part,
All made
right?
up.
It's
All
all
made
made
up.
up. And that's why this whole thing with this whole teaching that you're doing about body is so important, because you're going to where the source of the cause is, you know? And of course, then you have fun with food and you enjoy the world, but where is your head straight? You know, is your head straight? And I just remember, even out of 10,000 girls, this is one of the biggest things I got when I was a model. And at the time was YM magazine, which is Young and Modern magazine. It's a huge magazine back at that time. And I remember I wrote them a letter and I got chosen out of 10,000 girls. I was one of the 10 that got chosen to go to New York, and we were with Tyra Banks and Nikki Taylor. And it was like one of like my dreams to be with these supermodels. And I remember at the photo shoot, I remember not smiling. I remember being so self-conscious, just fearful. It was like all this conditioning. And the change happened, for me at least, was when I began, the suffering was so intense, and it started to progress and get worse. Even, you know, throughout my first marriage, my first marriage, it started to even get worse, because then I left the Course in Miracles, because then I had my God, you know, my God was my ex-husband, and forget about the Course in Miracles and forget about spiritual practice. Here I am. This is I'm like self-loathing in this junk, you know, like this feeds me. Mm. So then I started to quickly just lose myself. And then I was still an actor, and then I would get jobs and I wouldn't get jobs. And my worth was dependent on if I would get a job or not. Then I moved to Los Angeles, and then imagine it gets worse, because then there's more of a pool of competition, and I'm not home. Supposedly there was just a lot going on. What started changing was after when I was going through the process of my divorce, I found Pathways of Light, which is a Course in Miracles accredited school, ministerial program that's based on the Course in Miracles in a very deep way. It's like, I feel it's like the Course in Miracles University in a way. Again, I was an actor and I didn't want to be a minister. And I didn't want to be a teacher of God. I was like, no, I'm a model. I'm an actor. I'm not a teacher of God. I'm not a minister. Hell no, you know, when I was proposed that idea. But then I looked into it and I said, well, I love the Course in Miracles. I'm going to do it because I want to begin experiencing what the teachings are, because I had been a student for over, 10 years, 11 years, and not really experiencing what the book was telling me or teaching me. And then I had an awakening throughout the process of the ministerial program, a program that takes about a year, took me 4, just because I was resisting it. I quit many times. At the time I was heavily drinking. I was being very, not very I didn't have a lot of self-respect for myself. I felt that I needed to go out with different men and just look for this love outside of myself. It was a very destructive time. And what kind of the light bulb turned on for me, at least, and this happens to many people, and this is why I share the work the way I do it, because if I can help people to save some time with my experience and to help in recognizing that ultimately we really don't need to suffer, is a very big calling for me, because I went through that. So it comes from that space of testimony and experiencing that. There was a moment that if I didn't stop this addiction to looking for happiness outside of myself, looking for love outside of myself, I was going to die. Like, that's how bad it got. It was very destructive. And it wasn't like I was a big drug addict or alcohol or an alcoholic in a way, but I was just not in my center. I was all over the place. So what happens is that it was so miserable, and the days of being miserable were so many, that it gets to the point that you really think in a very deep way, you have a big willingness that there must be another way. There just has to be, because like this, I can't live anymore. That's when the light bulb started to switch, when there started to be like a very deep willingness for me to want to change. And then what happens is my career as an actor started to, I wasn't attracted to it as much anymore. And then this new platform of awakening started to happen for me. But I really needed to, for me, was to start to let go of again, what you said at the beginning is like, get out of my way. For me, it was very hard because we're so addicted to that way of being. It's really not us, but it's home in a way. It's a little bit destructive, but it's home. It's home. So I turned off the light. I started to turn off the light there and started to turn on the light inside me. And it was a process of events that happened, and throughout the conversation it will come up, but that's pretty much in a nutshell what happened.
I love that. And, a lot of people that'll be watching this aren't Course in Miracles students, have never heard of it. So I want you to talk a little bit more. So really awakening means, a lot of people use it for different words, but it really is to come into that light within, to live an authentic, to live more as yourself, and to kind of start to pay attention to all those voices that are made up that keep us in hell.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you said you'd love to just help people sort of save time, that we don't need to suffer. But I think a lot of people don't really understand that. So I'd love for you to riff on that for a minute.
Are you guys ready?
Get ready.
This is getting hot.
Yeah.
This is gonna get.
There's many people out there that think that that's just part of life on earth. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And most of our suffering is caused by our own thinking. And we think it's caused by certain situations, but it's what we attach to those situations. Anyway, I would love to hear you tell them a little bit more about how suffering is not required.
Yeah. That's such a deep question, and it's wow. Okay, so a lot's gonna come through. One of the biggest things is you hit it on the ball when you said our thoughts, and it's something that I actually got in meditation, which is don't believe the caca. Don't believe the caca.
I've heard that one. It's awesome.
That literally came up in my meditation. I was like, really? Do I need to go there, spirit? Don't believe the caca. And don't believe the caca means the caca is your thoughts. The caca is the limited beliefs. The beliefs that are working for you and that are making you feel good, please keep them. It's the caca ones that we want to release. So when we start to, and this is how I started the conversation, when we start to be a lover of what is, what happens is that our beliefs begin to have less hold of us. Because the beliefs get triggered when we are not in the state of loving what is. For instance, let's say the other day, I'm going to give you an example because I love to give practical examples of everyday life, is my Christian and I were in the kitchen, and
he's your husband, just so.
Yeah, Christian, my husband. Yeah. Yeah, Christian, my husband, were in the kitchen, and he said something such as, I don't know, I wish that you would cook every day, or you don't cook every day, or something like this. And then he went to the room and he shut himself in the room, and I'm like, what's going on here? It was like, I started to, this whole vortex of getting zombied out and believing in the illusion started to happen because he made this statement. And I remember that I went over there to kind of confront the situation and say, what do you mean I don't cook every day? And I do cook every day. And how could he say that? And then I told him that, and then I slammed the door and I went to the kitchen and I started to wash the dishes. And then, so this is what self-love is. Self-love is first of all, is the acknowledgement of the feeling, and that, there's nothing wrong here. It's like, I'm having a moment and I'm just about to get zombied out and I'm going to go away for a while, but I'll be back, So, but I need to allow myself, oh my God, I was on fire in Candela. I was thinking, oh my God, how dare he say that I don't cook every day? Who does he think he is? He's such a jerk. I want to throw him out the window, like all these thoughts. So when I start to to look at these thoughts, and I what I do is I sat with them and I was like, wow, these thoughts are really causing me pain, you know? And what's happening here is that I'm not loving what is, you know? Right now, his job seems to be that he's a pain in the butt to me right now, and he's supposedly criticizing me. That's his job. He's my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
He's my teacher. So then what does Maria do? Maria goes through it, feel it to heal it. I always say you got to feel it to heal it. And then what happens is I take responsibility. So it's not that I let him step all over me or I allow these behaviors or whatever, but am I going to go defend? Am I going to go be right? Am I going to be victimized? Am I adding to the energy? You know, this whole self-love thing is so vast and so big in the sense of we think that self-love sometimes is things, you know, let me take a bubble bath, or let me be self-loving, and let me write myself a card, or let me go kumbaya, or let me go walk on hot coals. Let me go on a retreat. No. The way that we express the most self-love is when you start to begin to really love every image that you're reflecting. You are so free. So my job is, if I'm going to be self-loving, I need to see Christian in his innocence. I need to see him in his innocence. If not, I won't experience mine. Because then there's war. So I have war, and then I have war on myself. And then it's caca. So I go to the room, he leaves the room. I end up in the master room now, and I'm sitting there, and I start thinking to myself, I was like, I don't want this war. You know, I don't want this war. And I remember just thinking of my thoughts and what I was thinking about him, and looking at how I set it all up. I went in the room, I opened the door, I attacked him, and my ego wants me to think that I hadn't done anything. Mm-hmm. And I actually prompted the whole thing in the first place by the way I was being, which prompted him to, it was all set up. I had set the whole thing up, and I forgot I set it up. Because that's the ego's tricky. The ego's very tricky. So my husband Christian comes to me. He says, you know, I'm sorry I said that earlier. And then I said, okay. I still wasn't ready. I was like, all right, but I didn't say anything. And then after a while, I went up to him and I said, you know, I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry for barging in the door and for what I said. I go, my commitment in this relationship with you is to recognize what love is, what true love is. Not this love that's, you know, let me see what I can get from you, or let me see how you can make me happier, or yeah, what I could get from you. You know, basically, this love that I want to experience with you, that I'm up to, is I want to experience with you that love. And that love is not like this fairy tale love we learn in movies. Yeah, that's beautiful too. I love the candles, and I love the dinner, I love the chocolates. Yeah, bring it. But I want to know that you're not the cause of my suffering. I want to recognize that. I want to recognize that you have nothing to do with my suffering, that you can't give it to me, that you can't take it away, that you can add to my happiness, that you can't take away my happiness, my peace. So thank you, you know? And then it was done. It was like it hadn't even happened. But that's the work of self-love. You know, when you're being self-loving, is that you recognize that how you heal and how you wake up is the teacher that's in front of you. You know, it can be your husband, it could be your child, it can be your relationship with food, you know, anything that's outside of you.
Your reflection in the mirror.
Your reflection in the mirror. Yeah, it's like, it's just your teacher, you know? And when we stop to attack these images, we're being loving. We're being so loving, because then it's not war anymore. You know, we have such a war inside, Linda, and we're so beautiful. We're so capable. We're so limitless. I've recognized in my life, like, there's just no limits. We're so powerful. It's like, I feel it in my meditations, how incredibly beautiful I am, and how much light I am, and how much light we are, and how sometimes we forget it, but it's part of the process in the waking up. And when you said, what is it to wake up? Well, right there, the scenario I just explained to you is when I woke up. and it doesn't have to happen later. It can happen right now. Right now we're having a very elevated conversation of awakening, and people think, oh, I'm not awakened because I'm not Eckhart Tolle, or I'm not awakened because I'm not whatever your favorite teacher is. And it doesn't matter. It's yes, you can wake up any moment that you are not believing that something outside of you is the cause of your upset. You are awakening.
Amen. Amen.
Anytime you're taking responsibility, you're awakening. Anytime you're not a victim of your circumstances, you're awakening. So right now, when your amazing tribe is looking at this video, there's an opportunity to awaken. It's not something that comes later. It doesn't come in a 1-hour meditation or when you go to a retreat. It's right now. Anytime that you remember again who you are, and the truth of who you are, and you let go of the fantasies and the delusion, you're awakened.
I love that. And, and I always tell people, you can't, it's only the power to be awake, to live awake is only right now. You can't do it 5 minutes ago. You can't do it 5 minutes from now. Try. I'll wait, see how it goes. But, and I had the goosebumps for so long when you were talking about it. Just such a great example that you shared about how this actually is self-love, and that your purpose in this relationship and in every relationship, but in this one with Christian, or with, with these bodies, or with fill in the blank, is to learn true love. True self-love.
True self-love, yeah, through him, because
through
as
him.
I see him, I see myself. And the reason I mentioned Christian is because he's my 24/7 mirror. We work from home, we live together, we have a son together. His name is Ari. So there's this huge, big curriculum. So the relationship that I'm up to healing, all the time is him, because he's in front of me all the time. So every time I'm given something from him, I'm able to, oh wow, okay, now I'm in school now, the class is in session. Oh, I better start to work it, because if not, then I'm gonna fail, and I'm gonna fail big time. I know, because I've been there. Now, is a failing bad? No, that's another thing. We have to learn self-compassion. Throughout this is like, sometimes you remember more, sometimes you remember a little less, sometimes you're a little bit more awake, and sometimes you're completely zombied out, and it's all beautiful. It's all gorgeous.
Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that sometimes we really are hard on ourselves. We are very, very hard on ourselves. There's just such a war of, wow, I've been doing this program, or, I've been studying the course, or I've been studying this book, and I've been meditating. And why am I not experiencing that self-love? And I know, because I've been there, that there's a sense of compassion of, I'm doing the very best I can with the awareness I have at the moment. And that's the best we can do. And to know that sometimes you feel like you're not making progress, and you actually are. Absolutely. And sometimes you think you're making tons of progress, and you're really not. It's
what we think is progress. Absolutely. And that staying in that level of self-compassion and that level of patience, are more apt to see the opportunity for love that's right there in front of us. You didn't sit around, beat yourself up because you burst in the door and said, I do cook, or, we can come out of a situation and say, ooh, I see how I just totally vomited my guilt all over them. The guilt, or the embarrassment, or the shame I might've been feeling, or the anger, even when we do those things, it's always a great opportunity to be patient and compassionate and take a look at it. And sometimes we are all zombied out, and
it's so loving. And you know what it is, Linda, and what's coming through also is when we believe the thought, right? So when we attach ourselves to the thought, to the thinking mind, especially the critical mind, what happens is that we can't snap out of it, because we're in it. Like, how can you get out of that belief if you're inside the belief? It's very difficult. But the thing is, when you start to, like, what I do, that I become really good at is to be an observer of those beliefs. And what am I thinking now? And wow, I'm attacking him, or how am I responsible in this? And I start to ask myself questions, and then I start to shift my perspective, my perception. But when you're in it, you can't beat yourself up about it, because you're actually asleep. So so it's like it's like you're bashing a little child that's sleeping, that's having a dream, and you're like, you're so bad, you're not spiritual enough, you know, why are you feeling like crap, how dare you, you're not awake, or whatever. It's so hard, it's so harsh,
So harsh.
it's so hurtful, you know, we're so hurtful on each other and on ourselves, on each other. And when we start to be more compassionate of like, that's what I've learned is, wow, you know, I forgot who I was. I went and I attacked my husband, you know, I forgot who I was, and it's okay. It's totally fine. I'm not a bad person. I'm not
Such a
guilty.
huge piece. Yeah.
It's so powerful.
So powerful. I'm going to take that with me. And I'm also going to take with me, I love how you said, it's a simple sentence I think we could all use in so many situations, even if we find ourselves drowning in our own self-criticism or in a conflict with somebody else, is I'm not sure exactly how you said it, but do I want to match this energy? Like what energy, or this energy of judgment, or this energy of conflict, what energy do I want to bring into this? It's just a simple question that causes so much pause and reflection, and to show us the power of decision that we have.
Yes.
Love that.
Yeah.
Some of this,
It's
there's so much good stuff in this book, and I really hope people get to experience your course. And we're going to talk more about that in a bit. You know, this is just a manual, and it's, you know, as any good manual, almost like every time I go back to it, I see something new, maybe that I wasn't ready, or it's just amazing. But, you know, I do a lot of work with clients as far as learning to feel your feelings. You know, some of us numb our feelings out with food. Some of us numb our feelings out with drugs or alcohol. Some of us numb them out with social media or with people pleasing, or, you know, fill in the blank. But the power, our own power that comes back when we have that level of compassion, where we can just start to have the courage to feel our feelings, is such a self-loving act. And to learn, it's almost, they're so, you know, for some people in my community, feelings are so intertwined with food now, to sort of kind of gently untangle that. And some of us have so many, just have been running from these feelings for so long, it can be so scary, and there's so much resistance. But you talk a lot about feeling your feelings in this book and in your program. So I'd love to hear from you on that topic.
Thank you, Linda. That's a great question. A couple things. One of them is you want to feel your feelings, because when you're feeling your feelings, then you're being honest with yourself. But there's a little ingredient there that's very important, which is you want to have that willingness. First of all, you want to have that willingness to even feel. You know, you want to, I feel that nowadays, and I say this a lot, is you want to let go of the food addiction, right? Or you want to lose weight, but you still want to eat like, you know, bad, or you don't want the commitment. So it's like this, but there's not like this big willingness to really want to change. And you have to get very honest about that.
Absolutely.
You want to get very honest about how you're in your way, so that way you can have, you know, that breakthrough. You know, and Course in Miracles, I know there's some people that don't know about the Course in Miracles, but there's one amazing quote that says, all you need is a little willingness and miracles happen. And miracles is the change of perception from fear to love. And in my book, I say big willingness. You need big, fat willingness to experience change. And how you experience that change is by saying, you know what? I'm going to start to live. That's why it's called Live Your Happy. It's like, I'm going to start to live this love for myself. I'm going to start to live that honesty. I'm going to start to live in alignment to my desires, right? So it's not, oh, I want love, but I want to look for love outside of myself. Or I want abundance and I want money, but I still want to suffer that I don't have money in the bank. So we have to start to become aware, first of all, even before we start feeling, is to have that big willingness to want to feel, to want to really be honest with yourself. You know, there's something to be said about calling yourself out and getting that caca out, right? You want to get it out. So what I call my first chapter is, we talk about big deals. So big deals is anything. It could be from you want to lose weight to maybe you're having health issues because you're not losing weight. A big deal is you like to binge at night. You like to eat a lot at night. You're drinking too much. Big deal could be standing in the line for, to get your license. That's a big deal for anybody. Tax season, all these big deals. So there's something to be said about getting really honest and calling yourself out. And you write a list. This is such a very simple exercise, Linda, where you write your list of all your big deals. You just get it on paper. There's a beautiful quote from Byron Katie that she says, war belongs on paper, because then the war's in your head. So you just put it down. You just get really honest.
So wait a minute, just to clarify, so big deals are your big fears or your big
deals.
Big saboteurs, how would you define
big
that?
Fears. Yeah, big fears, like, the examples I gave of standing in line to get your license, or getting your passport, or having IRS issues, or body stuff, or the doctor
Fill in the blank. Yep, gotcha.
Yeah. So you write down all those and you get really radically honest about that. And I feel that the reason why I wasn't healing most part of my life is because there was a pretending thing that was going on. And I would be like, yeah, I want to change, but not really. Yeah, I'm going to go to my course group on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. I am love, I am light. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to be on a date with a guy and pretend that he's going to complete me, and convince him to love me. Right? So there has to be this radical honesty. And I love the way you brought up honesty. And to start to feel, you want to start to feel your feelings and start to get really honest about what you're feeling. Like, and you don't stay there. Right? But you want to at least, the only way I was able to heal that situation with Christian is because I got really honest about my part in it, and I felt it. Did you see how I was like washing the dishes and I was feeling it? I'm going to throw them out the window. Oh my God, you got to feel it to heal it. So I felt it, but then you come around when you start looking at it. And what I do usually is that I give over my big deals to my higher self. I give over my big deals to my inner teacher. Course in Miracles calls it the Holy Spirit. Whatever word resonates with you is like you go within and you're not alone. There's another chapter in my book that's called You're Not Alone. Of course you have every reason to be anxious, depressed, and upset if you think you're doing this by yourself. Please suffer all you want, because you have every right to if you're doing it by yourself. But if you're really, so the next process, this is a beautiful meditation of where you sit with spirit and you give over these big deals and you're just very honest. I remember I did this process of feeling my feelings and these big deal exercise of when I really wanted to get married again. I wanted to be in a relationship again, not necessarily get married, but I wanted to be with a partner. I wanted to experience having a relationship again, experience my ministry with a partner. And I also wanted to be a mother. I was getting to my late 30s. I was thinking, it's going to be too late. I'm not going to be able to be a mother. And the process is I sat with this big deal of these feelings and I said to myself, Spirit, I want to have a partner. I want to have a life partner, someone I can experience my career with as a teacher of God. I also want to be a mother, and just was feeling that and giving it over. And I felt Spirit's sweet presence and understanding. It's as if it was saying to me, honey, I understand. I know that this is a big deal for you. I know that you want to be a mom and you're scared you're not going to be a mom. It's going to be too late and you won't be able to have children. Or I understand that you feel alone. I understand that you want to have somebody in your life to complete you, to fill you. I get it. This is a big one for you. This is really hard. But you know what? You're a mother. You have 2 furry dogs. I had 2 dogs at the time and they're in the other room. So you're a mother to them. It was very sweet. And then the other insight I got is that when you're given a relationship right now, you forget who you are. You forget me. So you don't know where you're being spared from not being in a relationship right now. You're doing God's work and you're not getting transed out, because I used to get really transed out by bodies and men, and it was just one of my things. So there's no room for that right now. And that's the work, Linda. That's the self-love work of where we really, we don't spend time inside enough. I can't stress this enough. Inside, I mean, sitting with yourself. And a lot of people will say, well, it's hard. It's hard for me to meditate. Oh no, I can't do it. That's fine. But good luck with that. Good luck with the excuses, good luck with the excuses. And, it's time to get to work. And it doesn't have to be hard work, even though sometimes it does feel like hard work. but everything that I've been able to accomplish in my awakening, in the life that I'm living now, has been through doing the work. You think it was fun for me to go up there, to go say sorry to him, or to admit that I was wrong? No, it sucked. I don't want to be wrong. I want to be right. Do you think it was easy for me to sit with spirit there and really feel my feelings of wanting to be a mother and the fear that I might not be able to be one because of my age? It's not fun. Do you think it's fun for me to have done that? There's my book, the 7-step fearless process, which is actually the 7-step forgiveness process. We just changed the name of it.
The F word.
The F word. It wasn't fun for me to go back in time and feel the hardship with my father that passed when I was 3 months old, that abandonment. That wasn't fun. Going back in time and healing all those relationships. No, it's not. Although I'm cleaning house, I'm cleaning my house, and then I'm free. I'm free from the attachment of the victimization of something's happening to me or something was done to me. I'm living in heaven. I'm living in the mind of God again. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
And, for those who is uncomfortable to sit and to go within and to bring this to your Holy Spirit or your inner teacher, your higher power, your highest self, your whatever we all want to call it, the sweetness that it's met with, the sweetness that you described, the compassion for your big deals. It's just such a, thank you for telling. It was just such a beautiful opening to your healing and not healing alone.
Mm-hmm. And also, Linda, possibly some people can get a little bit frustrated because maybe they don't hear anything or feel anything. And that's okay too, because it's a process. It's like when you go to the gym and work out, you change your body
Build muscle.
You build that muscle of connecting more to your true self. And at the beginning, when I've worked with people, I always say, maybe you're right. I don't get anything, I'm not receiving anything. This is frustrating. And from there, maybe something might come and you'll be like, oh, wait a second. I did get something. I got the word light, or I got the word love, and you start to develop this connection with this world that's not physical. And it's a space that exists here and now, of where you get to remember who you are and let go of the illusion, So, and when you said, what would I say to people that say this is hard? Do it anyways. I don't care.
and like you said earlier, I think people have this expectation when they sit quietly, when they go into meditation, that, they're going to see unicorns flying by and their grandfather's face, or they're going to have this huge, profound experience at the beginning. But it truly is a muscle. And to just have that no expectation, that patience to just be.
Yeah, every morning.
Get comfortable there.
Every morning, and I've been doing this for years, every morning, and I've done it for years and I continue to do it. I sit with spirit and I channel something. I always sit with spirit and I ask spirit, what message do you have for me today? And I listen, and it could be sometimes three sentences. Sometimes it could be a full paragraph. I don't judge what I'm writing. Is it spirit sometimes writing? I don't know. I don't care. The whole thing is I feel better. I feel good, so whatever serves the purpose, I've done accessing inner wisdom counseling for many years, and I haven't found one person, also in my workshops that I've done, I always sit people down and they're always asking me questions. Maria, what should I do in this area of my life? What should I do? I think I want to leave my husband, but I'm not sure if I want to leave my husband. What is the question? What's the answer? And I always say, well, I don't know, but that's the good part. I don't know, but And the reason that is because the power to heal is within you. Well, you haven't been taught this. You've been taught that the power to heal is outside of you, with people, circumstances, teachers, whatever. The truth is, no, the power to heal is within you. And the reason I say that is because it's in you, because you're the one that has control of your beliefs, of what you're going to value, and of what you're going to give your attention to. That's why the healing isn't in you. Yes, is a book helpful? Is, being part of a membership class? Yes, I love things that nourish me. Every morning I listen to at least 30 minutes of something that nourishes me, in the morning. So I'm all about that. But when you start to believe that things outside of you define you, for instance, my book doesn't define me. You know, I always say that, you know, or like I was saying earlier, being a speaker doesn't define me. God defines me. And it's funny because right in the beginning of my book, Linda, I say, this book won't make you happy. This book won't make you happy. I say that in the introduction. And I feel it's one of the most honest things I've ever read in a book. And I'm really proud that I wrote it. Wrote that sentence, because if I tell people that the book will make you happy or anything that I'm doing will make you happy, I'm taking away your power, because you have everything to be happy right now, because happiness is what you are. It's your inheritance and it's your function. It's your birthright. So I can't give you something you already have. Can I enhance it? Can I remind you? Totally. But I can't give you something that's already yours. You know, it's not honest. So I feel like it's been very empowering. It's very empowering when we start to recognize that. And going back to my workshops and my sessions, I've done these sessions with police officers, Linda, that have guns, and they've come into my house and put the gun on the table, and I guided them in meditation, and they've asked a question and received an answer. I have never had no one in any workshop not get an answer. And if it happens one day, that's okay too. But what I'm trying to say is that most of the time, 99.99% of the time, anyone that's not spiritual maybe, or not religious, or not even studied the Course in Miracles, or even know there's a Holy Spirit or anybody inside there, has channeled and has given themselves their answer. I've seen it. I see it all the time. And they're like, oh my God, I've never talked like that. Or that word I would normally not say, or wow, that was powerful. So they just start to get confidence. So I would say one of the takeaways is every day to practice, you know, have a little really sweet journal that you like, maybe get a new journal of where you practice asking questions and receiving. And you can do it every morning if you want, as a morning ritual. You know, I'm concerned about my weight. You know, I continue to overeat. Spirit, what's the truth here? What message do you have for me around this area? And then see what sweet words it has for you. You know, it's very helpful.
Beautiful, simple practice for people to start. And you know, if you can't get to a place where you feel comfortable and at peace in the quiet with yourself, you're never gonna get comfortable and at peace outside of yourself. Just like you said, good luck with that. Like for people, I don't want to go there. You're like, good luck with that. That's fantastic.
Well, I think that, you know, that's why I like the practices in the book so much, because I compromised and made so many exceptions for so long, Linda. It's like, but, you know, I never would follow through completely on really my self-worth, my self-love. It's as if I wasn't living it. So there's something to be said about doing the work, about following through, about practicing. It's like, I always tell people, forgive, even if you don't want to, you know, just try it on for size, just for a second, and see how you're going to feel later. It's going to be hard for your ego to say that sorry. It's going to be hard for your ego to let go of being right, but do it anyways. Just try it for 60 days and tell me what happens.
You probably won't want your money back. Yeah, I love that. Cool. Just try it on. See what it would feel like. Brilliant.
Yeah, it really helps. It helps to really release the suffering, to really release the suffering when you start to do that. It's like you do the work anyways. Like, stop the exceptions, stop the compromising. That's what was getting me into trouble. When the light turned on in my head, is like, what am I doing here? You know, I want to experience the self-love. I want to experience this. I'm never going to forget the day I was really radically honest with myself. I was doing the 7-step fearless process. It was the first time I channeled it, and I started doing it the day after. I remember when I was talking to Spirit, and I'm like, Spirit, I'm done. Like, I want to stop the suffering. I want to stop looking for love outside of myself. I want to live what, you know, I'm learning in these books. I want to experience enlightenment, whatever that looks like. Like, I'm done. I'm tired of suffering. And I remember sitting in the silence and listening. And when I said, I'm ready, I heard, no, you're not. And I was like, no, I'm not. What do you mean? I've been crying every
I said it
day.
was. Yeah.
I've been crying every day. I've been channeling. I've been doing the work. What do you mean I'm not ready? I had a mystical experience there because for the first time in my adult life, I was actually honest with myself that I was making compromises and exceptions. It's as if the whole world opened up for me. And that's why the honesty is so important and the feeling is so important. We want to skip that part and just be happy instead of, there's so much unconscious stuff from our childhood, so much things that to undo. In the moment, I was like, wow, okay. And then when I was honest, Linda, the whole world changed for me. It's like I was never the same after that. I realized that I was in my own way and that nobody outside of me has really hindered my progress. It's been me the whole time by doing things half, not the whole way.
Huge.
I woke up that day so in such a powerful way, and I've never been the same ever since that day.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Ever since that day that I was like, it was funny because it was like spirit is very humorous, at least with me, because spirit is me. I'm speaking to myself. I said to myself, it was funny when I was like crying. I was like, I do want to change. And then it was like, no, you're not. I was like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean?
That can't be right.
That can't be right. I said, no, you're not. I was like, wow. I was like, right. I'm not. I still want to compromise. I still want to be right. Wow. Yeah. I still want to hang on to the guilt. I still want to, judge. Wow. Yeah, that's true. I don't want to change. Really.
So profound. Now, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but if you could talk just for a couple minutes on why you would choose not to judge, because we talked a lot about this in the Eat Like You Love Yourself Academy, about judgment, self-judgment, judgment of others, same deal, same thing. But you say in your book, judgment kills.
Judgment kills, yeah.
Pretty drastic, profound statement. Mm-hmm. So would you just spend a couple of minutes talking about that?
Sure. Yeah, judgment. Yeah, I remember that when I wrote that, judgment kills. Well, when the reason that you don't want to judge, especially others and yourself, is because you're going to suffer. That's number one. It's like you could put judgment equals suffering. Mm-hmm. Your ego, the ego trick would be, and I have the ego tricks in my book. One of the ego tricks would be that, oh yeah, when you judge, you're going to get something. You're going to be right. You're going to have the upper hand. It's a trick, you see. But when you start to realize that when you judge, it's like the whole thing, judge your neighbor, judge yourself. It's like when you are judging something outside of you, there's a separation that happens and you're killing yourself. I know it's harsh. That's why I say judgment kills, because you're unconsciously killing, and you could never really do it, but it feels like death. Tell me it doesn't feel like death.
Feels like hell. Death. It does.
Feels like hell.
Completely asleep and hell.
And hell. So you go into that vortex when you're judging, and you go into that hell, you go into that delusional state, which I went through a little bit in the kitchen that day, right? That story is like you go in there and then you're lost, right? So at the beginning you think, oh, judgment's going to get me something. So the first thought is, oh, let me judge because I'm going to win here and I'm going to be right. No, it's a trick. So you want to see that when anytime you are giving over your power and you are judging anybody outside of you that they've really done something to you, you lose yourself completely. You lose your true self. You're not in your power. You're not in self-love, and you're completely lost. You're not in the mind of love anymore. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, this is very gentle. It's fine. It's part of the process, guys. It's not a big deal. Now, the good news is that when you start to recognize that everyone and everything, including your thoughts or whatever is created in your creation of creation, is working for you. It's working for you, even though it doesn't appear to be. That's why we start again with, you start to be a lover of what is. It's funny because sometimes I'm like, Christian's such a pain. He's my teacher. I was like, he's so mean. That's my thought. My thought is, God, he's so mean. And then there's that judgment, but then that judgment of he's mean just gives it more juice.
More juice.
And then there's more beliefs that come with that. Now he's not just mean, he's not a good husband, he doesn't love me. Then they starts to go into a whole novela, you know, those Spanish novelas. Oh my God.
The drama.
I didn't put my lashes today, but you know, with the lashes and he's hurt me or whatever. And it just doesn't work, because then you're lost. And then they start to be more judgments. So there's just something so beautiful about saying, wow, you know what? I'm not going to play this game anymore. I'm not going to self-sabotage myself anymore with my thoughts, with you know, when I think the thought, he's mean, what I do is that that's his job. Everything is a projection. So everybody is playing their role accordingly to my awakening.
Perfectly.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. Sometimes you can't say that to the person, because you're going to be like, I love when you dance. I love when you dance. I love when you dance. It's the best thing ever.
But you don't even need to say it to them, just to shift how you're going to look at this in such a way.
Yeah.
And if you don't think, if we ever at a point when it comes to judgment or anything, don't think that we have the power to decide what thoughts we're going to think, or how the way we're going to see a situation or choose to see a situation, you alone have robbed yourself of all your power.
All the power.
To be happy. Which is what we really want. That's the result we're all after. Right?
To be happy, to be peaceful. You know?
Yes. So, such good stuff.
Bam.
Bam. Shazam.
Pow.
Yeah, that's your newest one. Pow.
Pow.
So we can wrap this up. I could go on and on with you.
Juicy.
We have to do this again.
So juicy. Yeah, we'll do it again.
I have so many questions and notes I wanted to hear you riff on that we didn't get to. So it just means there's more to come.
We'll have to do like part 2.
Yeah.
Part 2 in the next few months. Yeah.
Novella. No, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure people have the link to your book.
Great.
I'm sure they have the link to your 9-week program that anyone can click the registration button and start today.
Start today, yeah. What's great is that you can, since it's evergreen, you can do it whenever, you know, you get it and you can start that day. But I always say, you know, just get it done, you know, just start.
Yeah. And, you know, if there's ever an example of a woman who really totally does the work and walks the walk and knows what she's talking about and proves that this stuff works.
It does work. It works. The work works. I always say the work works.
Yeah. Just thank you for being such a constant and shining example through it all. You know, and I've followed you and some of the struggles, real life struggles that we all have that you go through. And we've talked personally, and I've heard many of your teachings, and I love the example that you are. So I hope you all give her course a try, give the book a try. Follow Maria. I'll put it your website. I know you can people can join your mailing list. I'll also put a link here for anyone who's interested in the Eat Like You Love Yourself Academy.
Yes.
Where we, there's 3 major principles to healing a relationship with food. One is learning to eat intuitively, which is just to listen to your body and to feel your feelings.
I love that.
And the other one is radical self-love and acceptance. Loving what is about yourself is the most, that's where it all has to begin. We can't say, well, when this changes and that changes, then I'll love myself, then I'll be worthy of this love. No, it'll never work that way. You'll always be chasing that carrot at the end of the stick in front of you. You love it now. You love it now. You stop trying to arrange things outside of you. It's like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic before things. It doesn't matter. It won't get you anywhere. You do the self-love work first, and then outer changes just happen naturally. That's what love does. You know, you're meant to be loved, live a life of love. You're meant to be happy. And we just do some of this internal housekeeping, like you've said, and it's not always easy. And let the rest work itself out. That's none of your beeswax.
It's love that.
It's not even, the how isn't even yours to figure out. You do this inner work. You do this inner work on self-love. And like Maria said so beautifully, the whole world changes. You're like, what? when did that happen? I always say, I used to judge so many people and judge myself. And the more I did all this work, and I still am mesmerized. I go out into the world and I'm like, when did everybody and everything get so beautiful?
Oh, yes.
It brings tears to my eyes. Any face, and it's just your reality softens and the lights come on in such a beautiful way. And thanks for all the tools that you put out there, Maria, to help people live their happiest, truest, most loving selves. You are a master, and just a master of happiness and love. And I am just honored to be your friend.
Me too, Linda. What a beautiful conversation. So enriching. Very enriching.
Loved it.
Yeah. I'm so excited about everyone that is here and that's watching, and what I'm so curious and filled with wonder of how the takeaways and how it will reflect in your life. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I'm excited. And thank you for supporting and your beautiful words. And you always bring out the best in me.
That's the best compliment I can ever.
You always bring out the best in me. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Maria. And until we meet again.
Until we meet again, we'll do part 2.
Yeah, the sequel.
The sequel.
I love you.
I
Bye,
love
everybody.
You too.
Thanks so much for being here.
Bye, everybody.